Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TBR's webinar, What Do Your Customers Want? Insights from TBR's Computing Customer Satisfaction Survey. My name is Allison Crawford, and I'm your host for today's session. TBR's focus is to provide business research to accelerate our customer success, and the information we'll be covering today comes directly from our corporate IT buying behavior and customer satisfaction studies. Detailed reports include information like product, sales, service satisfaction, as well as customer loyalty statistics across notebooks and desktops. Information will be invaluable to any firm with plans to take market share, expand footprint, or compete more effectively in the hardware market. We're excited to present some of our findings to you and get feedback on our information. Before I hand this over to Greg, there are a few action items I'd like to cover with you. First, we will be recording today's session and posting it to the TBR YouTube channel. We encourage you to visit our channel to watch this presentation or any of the others we've posted. Second, we'd like to hear your opinions and thoughts on the material we're presenting. Please any questions or comments to the Q&A function or the chat function. Greg will address them at the end of the presentation. We'll send out the slides to everyone registered for today's webcast within 24 hours of the conclusion of the webinar. Let me introduce Greg Richardson, Senior Analyst and Head of the Customer Satisfaction Program at TBR. Over 5 years, Greg has been instrumental in involving the research program to include new metrics and create actionable insight for his clients. His has helped his clients develop successful go-to-market strategies as well as defend their current market share. Into uncovering the changing needs and demands of enterprise IT customers, Greg spent time crawling through muddy tunnels and barbed wire in tough mutter races, and he claims he can drive a golf ball 300 yards. So he'll be in very capable hands for the next 30 minutes. Now with that, let me hand this over to Greg.
And really, 300-yard drives are only effective if they're down the middle of the fairway, so we're not quite there yet. But thank you everyone for joining. Really, this is a great opportunity to discuss some of the findings that we have that we're gathering through our ongoing customer satisfaction research. So I just want everyone to think for a second that you're on a boat. You're in the ocean, you're heading toward land, it's in sight. All of a sudden, you're hit by crashing waves. It's just completely throwing you off course, really obstructing your ability to get to that goal, to get to land. What's happening today in the enterprise IT market? Today we have both PCs and servers, and in the PC space, a situation where employees, the end users of those PCs, are more tech savvy, and they need more product functionality and type of services that they get at home, at work. With consumerization. The server side of things, cloud legitimized in the enterprise, and what this is causing is pressure from IT managers and C executives to have departments that can stand up integrated systems and have to handle these new workloads as things shift to cloud. The changing seas of the enterprise IT market are being crashed by multiple waves, such as consumerization and competition as a result of that consumerization from companies like Apple, and different new capabilities in both the devices and in the server hardware, which will help drive for some of those new emerging areas. Convergence, cloud, key pieces of information in the data center, or key pieces of technology in the data center that are driving some of this change, ultimately creating more headaches for IT departments and creating new opportunities for vendors. These are starting to really shine through in the studies that we do, which cover more than 16 years of research. We've talked to tens of thousands of IT decision makers that represent millions of systems. And really what we're seeing is that there is a change. The seas are changing in the enterprise IT market, and they're changing because of these waves. Look at TBR CSAT research to evaluate how these changing seas are affecting customer experience. From then they are planning a purchase through the experience of the product itself, and to the time they're evaluating the next purchase, what the effect is on that next sale. We will cover three primary areas today. Number one, enterprise IT spending trends. Number two, customer expectations and satisfaction. And number three, customer loyalty and advocacy. By this discussion, you will better understand how the waves in the enterprise IT market are resulting in new customer demands so you can best align your competitive and go-to-market strategies with the new needs of the market. So with that, let's get started. Number one, enterprise IT spending trends. Overall, enterprise spending in North America in terms of IT is trending upward. It's a good sign. A recent TBR study, which was fielded between January and April of 2012, more than 35% of customers across both PCs and x86 servers expect their IT spending will increase by more than 5% in the next 12 months. This is a great sign. This is not only the effect of steady incremental increases in upgrades and refresh of traditional infrastructure, things like notebooks or x86 servers, but the GCs are leading to new technology areas that are coming into this spending spectrum, ultimately creating new opportunities for vendors. So as spending needs and goals have changed, and as the technology has changed, new demands are increasing in impact in terms of that spending, while others are decreasing in terms of where customers are going to put their money in the next 12 months. And if you get the factors that are increasing, or the areas that are increasing in importance and in likelihood to spend on, they're all centered around those waves of change, those seas of change that we're talking about. On the client side, tablets. We'll talk about this in more depth, but in terms of tablets, we're seeing that they're becoming a primary reason why customers are not considering buying notebooks from their primary vendor again. That's by consumerization, customers wanting that experience at work that they have at home. At the same time, new competitors such as Apple and Samsung bringing new tablets and new form factors into the space. Virtual desktop, that's really effective cloud. So companies that are moving in that direction of cloud want to bring that centralized functionality and management and bring it to the desktop, are virtual desktop as a means to get there. And as a result, traditional desktops are being impacted, in some cases being transitioned out. On the server side, in the data center in general, management capabilities, a key driver of what customers will be spending on in the next 12 months, and it's really due to convergence. Customers want the ability on a single pane of glass to be able to manage their not only servers, but storage and networking as well, and they're willing to spend money and spend more resource to get there. And finally, really the foundation in both the client and the data center side is performance. Customers expect performance change. It's what enables these other changes to happen, and is what's needed to support the new capabilities that are requested or that are required and demanded by the enterprise IT buyers today. With increasing tech areas, the impact of these new technology areas, some are starting to fall in a little bit out of favor. Low-end notebooks we found in the study. Many customers looking at tablets as a replacement for these low-end notebooks and just not or considering not buying them again. In desktops, all spending remains strong as many customers continue to upgrade and incrementally refresh their systems. The customers turning to virtual desktop are now looking at potentially phasing out those traditional desktops over time. So to discuss the trajectory of spending and where customers will focus, we'll net the results of the 1Q12 TBR CSAT surveys to get perspectives on customer expectations and the satisfaction that they have with their primary vendors in the space. Like customer expectations, we must look at what must-haves and the nice-to-haves. The must-haves left are the table stakes. To differentiate on these attributes will be demonstrated by very, very close satisfaction scores in the reports, but not expectation in these areas will all but instantly eliminate you from contention in a deal. This defensive area, you need to look at this. Investors need to look at this area as a way of protecting the base and ensuring that they are coming to the table and have the right features and functionality to meet those standard must-have customer needs. On the right of the chart are your nice-to-haves. Critical in the buying criteria, these are the real opportunities to differentiate. Others may not go into the engagement with these as critical components. A strong track record around these areas would help sway a customer in a vendor's direction. You'll see also, and later in the presentation, how many of these attributes are key components of both loyalty and advocacy, which create a runway for even more sales. To look at this chart is looking at it like you'd be buying a car. Besides, it would be your must-have features, things like brakes and headlights. It's like you're not going to decide on one car versus another because of the type of brakes that they have, but it's all likely that you would not buy a car that doesn't have brakes. The right are your more nice-to-have features, things like navigation or a sunroof. Would most people buy a car because of a navigation system or sunroof alone? Not likely. But when that factor in comparing two very similar models, that might give that car dealer the edge of selling that vehicle. And tell you how we should look at the metrics on the right, or the attributes on the right versus the attributes on the left. Must have on the left, qualifying attributes for a deal. Nice on the right, the real opportunity to differentiate. The next three slides look at the results from the first quarter report. So this is a real perspective on the key areas that we cover in the space, where they're strong, and how the results shaped up. So the report results that we'll look at is the x86 server report. The #1 ranked company this quarter is just strong levels of overall satisfaction by catering to customer wallets, best-in-class levels of loyalty and recommendation through strong scores in value and in TCO. This paints the picture that value is what drives customer loyalty. IBM, which finished second, is leaning on strong services reputation to drive forth satisfaction within its company. Its proficiency in x86 server services led the industry in 1Q12, and these additional benefits, though, didn't outweigh the cost for customers, creating a bit of a competitive headwind against Dell. With HP, product focus. With a new line coming to market in the first quarter, coupled with a reputation around reliability and design, a strong suit was in products this quarter, as it can be demonstrated by the highest ranks in reliability, management capabilities, performance, and product design and features. The next slides will look at the PC reports, both notebooks and desktops. The top-ranked company in the notebook report differentiated with services. It led in the majority of service areas that we cover, and really what that helps is, again, paint that picture of value and long-term loyalty, and that's why they also rank top in likelihood to buy again. As it's done for many quarters over the last 16 years, ranks around products, and they are, in essence, the product benchmark, or Lenovo is the product benchmark, earning top scores in reliability, management, performance, product design, and replacement parts availability. Dell in #3, though not having the largest amount of highest weighted satisfaction scores in 1Q12, drives high levels of likelihood to recommend by the long-standing direct sales relationships that Dell has with North American large enterprises that has built over the years through its large direct sales model. So highest scores in sales responsiveness, post-purchase customer care, time services such as setup. And looking at the desktop report, similar picture to what we've seen in the last report, just a little bit of variability in terms of the levels of magnitude between each vendor. Again, the #1 ranked vendor in desktops, continue to differentiate with services, looking at earning strong marks in many service categories, ultimately driving that recommendation layer. Dell, like its notebook business, strong scores for sales and value, things like post-purchase customer care and purchase price, ultimately leading to a higher likelihood to buy again score than the competitors. And for Lenovo, though falling into third, painting a TCO story on its desktops by scores in reliability and product design and features. And as a result, the landscape looks very similar between both notebook and desktops, and even some of the same levels of commonality between the server report as well. So the key points to look at today, in looking at the source of many of these waves that we've talked about in the enterprise IT market, is Apple, especially on the client side. So we created a special report that looks specifically at Apple Macs, not iPads or iPhones, but compatible PCs in the enterprise. And the strengths and weaknesses between the two are clear. For Apple PCs in the enterprise are what one would expect. Perceived system cost, lack of software and hardware compatibility, two major barriers to entry that Apple has faced for years. Overall, PCs prices have come down over the years, while Apple still remains a premium product, and as a result, it tends to be a barrier for adoption by enterprise IT decision makers. At the time, enterprise IT decision makers and the individuals who support those PCs in those environments do not are facing challenges in managing a heterogeneous environment. So bring OS X into a primarily Windows environment. result, Apple faces those challenges in the enterprise. However, one change that we've seen in the enterprise market, the C's that we've talked about, is consumerization, and that's playing to Apple's strong suit. As many IT decision makers, that is the consumer orientation of the PCs is, though a weakness for Apple, it also can be seen as a strength. Remember, end use, the employees themselves want the same functionality at work that they want at home. And this is what we're seeing the inroad for Apple. Into that, extend its capabilities around them by focusing on the employee itself versus the IT department. So create products that are turnkey, that are easy to set up and run, interface across all of the different Apple products in a large online support library. Take out the burden from the IT department and put it in the hands of the employees. Because the employees are happy and they're working with a product that they're used to working with at home, they're willing to do this. And just because simply they're more tech savvy than the employee base in general may have been 10 or 15 years ago. So as a result, Apple making inroads in the enterprise by focusing on the employees themselves, catering to the needs for consumerization, similar functionality at home and at work, and ultimately helping support with large online support tools library that the employees can utilize themselves. So now we talked about what the spending levels look like and customer satisfaction and expectations. We'll now evaluate what it means for the next sale. The real test of customer satisfaction is, how does that satisfaction lead to that customer buying again, or either go to their peers and really advocating for the company. Most customers are loyal to their primary brand, but only for displacement is out there. 10% of enterprise PC customers aren't likely to buy again from their primary vendor. 6% of enterprise x86 server customers aren't likely to buy again from their primary vendor. There's two opportunities here to look at. In the scheme of the customer base, a smaller percentage, it still creates a large road of opportunity for vendors who are looking to capture some of the changing needs, and especially those which align with the changing C's that we've spoken about thus far. Looking at loyalty, with the opportunity for displacement, let's see what really keeps customers in the brand and what are the primary drivers of loyalty. So as you see, more than 80% of customers in every product area said they are likely to buy again from their primary vendor. This is a big number, and it shows that long-standing relationships are a key component of these relationships, of this loyalty rather. So look at that, x86 server side, 80% of Dell customers said that they would buy again, 80% of Dell customers said that they would buy desktops again, and 81% of HP customers said they would buy notebooks again. The common thread amongst all of those is value in services and in both the products and the services. Dell, for example, an x86 loyalty has highest weighted satisfaction in TCO, price, in 3 of the 7 service categories. HP, earning top spot in notebook loyalty, had the highest satisfaction in TCO as well as post-purchase customer care in 6 of the 7 service categories. And Dell, who also earned highest marks for loyalty in desktop, had the weighted satisfaction in price, post-purchase customer care, and 2 other service areas. So in looking at the picture holistically, it's clear that value, customers buy again because they receive value from the vendor, which come from the product itself, the price and great TCO story, as well as the services and the relationships that they build on that side. So why customers would buy again, it's important to look at why they may not. And this is the real opportunity for displacement. When looking at this chart, you see that there are 2 primary reasons why customers wouldn't buy again. Not making or not meeting the expectations for that table stake, not adjusting to those changing C's that we've talked about. On the x86 server side, for example, improved performance. Again, performance gains enable capabilities, which is one of the primary changing C's that we've talked about. The other areas related to cost, maintenance costs, and as well as power and energy costs, when looking at an increasing dependence on the data center for more business functions such as analytics, it's important that companies can manage that infrastructure and at the same time are being faced with increasing power and energy costs. At the end of the day, they're seeking value from their servers. On the P side, did not improve performance was also a key attribute there in terms of why customers would not buy again. Again, a table stake that is the foundation of many of the changes that we've talked about in the real first step in preparing to meet those needs. And it saw a real direct correlation between PC loyalty and the changes that we've talked about. Many said that they would not buy. More than 40% again of low-end notebook customers, for example, said not buy a PC from there because they're considering buying tablets instead. The point: no longer having a need for business need for PCs. Again, showing a transition, tying back to both virtual desktop and tablets. So the changing seas that we're seeing and these waves related to devices are really affecting the PC demand. And again, still strength in upgrades and refreshes, but new opportunities in these key areas that we've mentioned here, such as virtual desktop and tablet. Looking at customers who would buy again, the other side of the coin is customers who would go to bat for you. So the big advice to vendors is treat your customers well because they can be your biggest PR team. 85% of enterprise x86 server customers and 82% enterprise PC customers said that they would recommend their primary vendor to a professional peer. 80% of customers who said that they would go to bat for a vendor because of the relationships they have and the value that they believe they gain from that product. A tremendous opportunity when looking at driving forth continued growth for each of the vendors in this space. In relationships and value, it's back to advocacy as much as it ties back to loyalty. In the side, Dell server customers said that they would recommend Dell to a professional peer. Dell's advocacy through a strong value proposition marked by scores in purchase price and TCO, relationship and services engagements such as phone support, and frequent customer touches with ongoing services. On the other side, Dell also posting a strong score. 83% of customers that they would recommend Dell notebooks to a peer. Deeply rooted in relationship. Dell's direct sales model for a long time, and TBR believes the relationships that are inside of this model supports this advocacy. Willing to put their name out there for someone they know and trust as they are for the brand. So in this case, many customers aren't recommending a brand, they're recommending a sales individual or a services head of services that they deal with. Personal relationships are a key attribute for driving advocacy. HP side, who ranked first desktop advocacy, 84% of customers said that they would recommend HP products. It's tightly linked to its strengths and services. The 6 of 13 sales and service attributes in terms of weighted satisfaction in 1Q12. Again, back to the relationship, driving forth recommendations for companies and people that they know. So a lot today about the waves of change, and TBR CSAT studies show that these waves of change are really shaping the North American IT markets and will continue to do so going forward. At TBR CSAT research to evaluate how these changing Cs are affecting customer experience from the plan that purchase through the end of life and that they're planning their next purchase, focusing on 3 primary areas. 1, enterprise IT spending trends. 2, customer expectations and satisfaction. And 3, customer loyalty and advocacy. You understand how the waves in the enterprise IT market are resulting in new customer demands so that you best align your competitive and go-to-market strategies with the needs of the market. I'll go over to Allison, who will handle the questions.
Great. Thanks, Greg. We've had a couple questions come in. The first question was, how do you see companies and customers shifting their view on software and services, and what will that mean for hardware companies?
Sure. So TBR in general covers the whole market. This report it's hardware focused in that we're evaluating evaluating the product sets from the vendors in the PC and the x86 side, we turn a blind eye to services and software. These are key enabling technologies, and in many cases, these are reasons why these changes are happening, this changing seas are happening. Things mobile applications on the device side, being able to quickly download and gain access, all back to software, and having services to support that. On the data center side, cloud, deeply rooted in as a service, both from a software perspective as well as services themselves. So many customers, when considering holistic solutions, however, these specific technologies and the vendors that support them are really focused on how to best integrate these point pieces or these individual products in that larger solution. And as a result, you're seeing that stories are changing, and I think that in many cases that's what's driving the changes in customer expectations.
Great. Second questions come in is, when looking at the list of companies in these studies, there are two distinct groups in PC. Companies that are focused on solutioning and those that are focused on gaining market share. How do you see these two types of companies reacting differently to the changing seas?
Observation, because it's true. When you let companies like Dell and HP, traditional large PC-centric companies, they are going through, for lack of better terms, a sea change in themselves, shifting more to a solutions approach, where you look at a company like Lenovo, who's still gaining ground in the PC market, focused much more on a traditional approach, product-centric approach. And because of that, their go-to-market approaches are different, and because of that, we expect that share will shift over the next year or so, because of the way that they're attacking the market. As I said, it doesn't exclude each of those types of companies from integrating into the solutions that I just mentioned. For example, with Dell and HP, those companies will be adamant on building PCs, integrating them as part of a larger solution, and bringing in their growing software and services portfolios, and also the pieces around x86 server storage and networking to a holistic solution, and PCs become a fundamental part of that. The internally aligning their systems to best work with the technology and the services that they build are going to help them those two companies gain some competitive differentiation against other companies like Lenovo, who are focused on gaining share. So on the Lenovo side, Lenovo's goal is to be the highest partner, to be able to go in as the PC vendor who doesn't want to sell you the entire solution and wants to focus on delivering you the best PC products. And as a result, we see a lot of momentum around products themselves, and that's why you see in both desktops and notebooks, Lenovo having high scores around the products. It's leading a very product-centric approach, and in cases, because of its nascence in many markets like the United States, with its whole portfolio, as well as some other markets of the world, it's still growing, and it's rapidly gaining share because of that, because it's a piece of the market that both HP and Dell are taking a different approach to.
Great, Greg. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. We really enjoyed our interaction with you today, and we look forward to continuing this dialogue. We'll leave the chat function open for another few minutes to give anyone who has a last-minute question the opportunity to talk to Greg. So be on the lookout for the slides in the next 24 hours. They'll be coming from your account executive. And if you have any questions, you can follow up with Greg here, either through his email or his phone. If you want to follow him on Twitter for more information as it comes out on the research that we're conducting, that would be great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Have a nice day.